Then we have a bunch of battle rating changes for ground vehicles, but also some other planned changes which are coming to the game as well. So something that they are looking to do is increasing the BR of certain combat helicopters such as the K-52, Mi-28NM and AH Mark 1 Apache to get them out of 10-0 battles. And that's basically what they've done with the MiG-23 MLD and the F-4EJ Kai as well at the same time. So I'm guessing they're sick of these vehicles annihilating lower tier stuff. And, well, I would put some other vehicles when it comes to helicopters in that bracket as well. But hey-ho, premiums. The next one is there are some planned changes for ground vehicles when it comes to their fire rate, and it seems to be affecting a lot of tank destroyers. As we've talked about many times, tank destroyers are not very good in this game. They actually are worse than pretty much, most other vehicles because they don't get a specific mechanic on them, unfortunately. Like, they don't get access to scouting most of the time. They don't get, like, lower spawn points or anything like that. They're just not very good. So the ones which are changing when it comes to their fire rates, the IKV-103, it's instead of firing 6 shots per minute, it's now going to fire 7.5. The IKV-103 is a terrible vehicle. It was way overestimated, its capabilities when it came to the game. When it was first added, I spaded it when it was a ridiculously high BR. It's still terrible at its current BR. The Su-57B is going from 12 shots to 14 shots a minute, so even with all the BR reductions that thing has, it still is doing terribly because it's an awful vehicle. And once again, one which was massively overestimated when it was added. Welcome to human error. This can cause much bigger issues than statistical errors. The ASU-85, the shots are going from 7 to 8.4, so not as drastic of a change, but should be nice to see. The ASU-85 isn't actually that bad. I'd say it's one of the better ones out of these vehicles. But yeah, it's a pretty fun vehicle, and it also has scouting as well. It just doesn't have any survivability and doesn't have a turret. The Sturmpanzer II is going from 4 to 4.5. Once again, terrible vehicle. Haha memes. It's terrible. The Marder 3 is going from 8.4 shots to 10, so it's getting a 6-second reload. That'll be really nice for the machine, actually. I thought that machine was alright. You know, it wasn't as good as the Panzer 3s and the Panzer 4s of the BRs, but, you know, it's not terrible. But this will give it a nice little buff. The Su-51 is going from 12 shots to 14 shots. This thing is a terrible vehicle, mainly because it's limited on ammo, limited on speed, and limited on survivability. It's just bad. So increasing its rate of fire doesn't actually do anything for the vehicle, because you'll run out of shots in time anyway. The whole roll is going from 3 to 4.5 shots per minute. Fair enough, it's another crap vehicle. Are you seeing a trend? They're all tank destroyers, and they're all pretty bad. Apart from the ASU-85. I think that one isn't that bad. The Marder 3 is alright as well, it's just outperformed by all the mediums at its level. Then, new ammunition added. Oh boy, don't I love new ammunition. Always love this stuff. The T-90A gets the 3BM60. Okay, fair enough. You know, the T-90A is the worst 10-7 vehicle for the Soviets. I would definitely take it as a third spawn after the T-72B3 and also the T-80U. It's not in a good place. It doesn't feel nice to use. It doesn't have any of the bonuses of the T-80 or of the T-72. It just has a APS system which is useless at the BR. So I'm not surprised they're giving it a better round just to kind of give it a buff. They actually did this thing in the past with the T-90 when it was first added. They gave it a mega round because of the fact that it just wasn't performing very well. The M1A2 is getting the M829A2. It doesn't need this. It's one of the best performing tanks in the game. It's a fantastic vehicle. Why are you giving it a better round? The Leo 2PL is getting DM53. The Leo 2A5 is also getting DM53. Once again, I will scream at the clouds. Hello? Is anybody up there? Why are you doing this? There is no need for this. There is no need for giving these vehicles, which are already meta vehicles, better rounds. You already have other vehicles at the highest BRs of the game, which have worse rounds than this. The Leopard 2A5 is a fantastic vehicle. It feels absolutely wonderful. So does the Leopard 2PL. It is not my fault that you decided to make this damn thing a squadron vehicle so everybody and their grandma can get hold of it very quickly and be able to use it without proper lineups. Stop trying to screw with it. I don't care what your stats say when it comes to the Leopard 2PL or stuff like the A4E. It is obvious that they are balked. You keep trying to put it down in BR and you keep buffing it. Leave it alone. It is a very, very good vehicle. And so is the 2A5. I don't care that people don't know where to shoot Soviet vehicles and they keep dying to them. You want to know where to shoot them? Driver's port, lower glacis, and then road wheel when they're slightly turned. There you go. I've solved your issues. I've solved your issues that you've had for ages. Where do you shoot stuff like Abrams with any of these vehicles with their meta rounds? Lower glacis, turret ring. Where do you shoot anything with these rounds? Turret ring, breach, or lower glacis. There you go. Have fun. Go and enjoy these vehicles. Now you have to work on your reaction times and positioning, the two things that actually matter, instead of just giving these things better and better and better rounds, which will eventually go through breaches even better because people can't aim and just aim center mass and just shoot everybody in turrets. Can we please stop doing this? This is the third or fourth time where we've taken meta vehicles. The 2A5 is a very meta vehicle. It's an incredibly good vehicle and given it a better round because people don't know what they're doing. Please, for the love of God, we need to actually teach people how to play these things instead of just keep making them better and better and better and screwing over other nations, which is what these are doing. These three nations, the USSR, America, and Germany, are already the most played, right? And giving them more toys to make them better are going to make more people play them. So then you have an even greater gap between the minor nations and the major nations. And then what ends up happening is because more people play these bigger nations, because already more people play them and they have all the bells and whistles that you'd want, then the new people get attracted to them as well, increasing the gap between them. So then when you add in new nations like Israel, that's going to even be a bigger issue for, the players who play Israel, because they're going to go up against vehicles which have been buffed for no apparent reason apart from the fact that they're not performing well because people don't know how to use them. We need to find a better way of dealing with this at top tier because it's happening over and over and over and over again in ground and it makes no sense. We've got to sort this out. Either we teach people how to play or we do something else, such as give other nations these rounds as well. Your pick. So when it comes to the battle ratings themselves, there's not too many I actually disagree with. A lot of them seem to make a lot of sense. So the T26E5, it's going from 6.3 to 6.7. Not a surprise at all. I researched that vehicle, I spaded it, I went about 38 kills and 6 deaths. There's something really odd about its armor, and it's been changed about 3 or 4 times, but its armor still stays really, really powerful. So the T26 doing well, it's as I said, it's really no surprise and kind of seems to me like just a better M26. So I thought when it first came in that it would just be a slow machine that wouldn't be very good, but because of the buffs to the armor that they did, it has become a bit of a monster. So it joins the 6.7 American heavies at that lineup and should be a lot of fun. The gun is a little bit of a weakness on it, especially against other heavies like the Tiger II, but it should be alright. As long as it can bounce shells, then it does half the job well. The SDKFC 2344 is also going from 4.0 to 4.3. Its march upwards continues. Not too much of a surprise, really. It's a fantastic vehicle. It works really well. It's got the long barrel 75 and good mobility. That's all it needs, and it does awesome. The Weasel 182 and also the Ocelot are going from 9.0 to 9.3. Once again, no surprise here. The only issue with these two vehicles is their stock grind is not the best. The Ocelot obviously having the missiles, which are not proximity missiles. You actually have to hit the targets with them. I feel like most of the time I get kills because people don't realize the missiles are coming in. If they realize the missiles are coming in, then they don't work. And also it's not very useful against helicopters because of how, the missiles work as well, at least the first one. The 182 doesn't, I suppose the stock grind doesn't matter too much, but it still has benefits being spaded, and being an end-of-the-line vehicle, it kind of sucks that it's going to take a long time to get it spaded, but overall, I don't think the BR change will affect it this much. I think it'll affect the Ocelot more than the 182, but both should still work pretty well. The LVT 440 is going from 2.3 to 3.0. Not too much of a surprise with that one at all. I didn't actually think, I thought it was going to be good, but I didn't know how good it was going to be. And then I was actually on stream, I was playing with Laura Daly and Oddboss, and we just went around, and I think I had like a 10 kill match in it, and then the two others had a bunch of kills in it as well. It's just an insane machine if it gets down to just like how the B1 turn, the B1 bis is, so to see it go up is really no surprise. It's just a fantastic vehicle at killing anything that has low armor. The 40mm just tears them apart, and also its multi-role ability of being able to go after aircraft as well makes it very, very strong. Its survivability is surprisingly good as well because it's just so big. Taking out all of the crew is not the easiest thing to do in the world. The M1128, the Striker, goes from 9.3 to 9.7. Its march upwards continues. The only thing that was holding the Striker back this whole time was its reload. Everything else was completely fine about the vehicle, and after the buffs it's got when it comes to its survivability and when it comes to its reload, it keeps going up in BR. So not a surprise. I think it will probably stay where it is for now, because at higher BRs it's going to start getting annihilated by some even better machines. One of the things to mention about the Striker, though, is the fumes in the thermals. They're still there. I'm wondering if they're going to do something about that, because I know at least on the Striker in real life they have a system which means that the fumes themselves don't directly go into the gunner's sight, basically, so it's kind of odd to see. I'm wondering if they're going to change that at all. The Crusader Mark II, and then the Saint, which is the premium, and also the French Crusader, is going from 2.3 to 2.7, so that takes away another key element of the 2.3 French lineup, but the Crusader is an incredibly fun vehicle. It's fast, it's got a ton of smoke grenades, it's got scouting, and the gun, even though not the best, has a really good fire rate. It's one of those vehicles that I kind of go back to and have a bit of fun with every once in a while, and no surprise that it's going up in BR. The scouting vehicles at low BRs, such as the Crusader and the M3A3s and the other Stuarts, are just stupidly strong, so see them all go up, no surprise. I use them all the time to get first places, and it works pretty well. The EBR 1951 is going from 4.3 to 4.7. Now, I know a lot of people talk about how the gun on the machine isn't very good, and then they turn around and they have insane stats in the machine. They have really good KDs and really good win rates, and I'm basically the same. The gun isn't the best in the business, but what the chassis allows you to do is to be able to get it around at a good click, and I have a very good win rate and a very good KD in it. It was stupid easy to spade, it was a very easy vehicle to play, and yeah, it's a fun little vehicle. You just wander around and shoot things. The EBR chassis works very well when it comes to the game overall. The AMX-13 FL11 is going from 3.7 to 4.0. This sucks because it means that it is now not part of the 3.7 lineup anymore. I really enjoyed the 3.7 lineup for France. So far, this BR Changes has nuked two of my favorite lineups for France, but I don't blame them because all of the vehicles are very good. So to see them going up in BR, not a surprise at all. The BM13N is going from 3.0 to 2.7. The Katusha is terrible. You could put it at any BR and it's going to be rubbish, so it doesn't really matter what BR that thing's at. And the most obvious change in the history of changes has come in, the SDRF 90B, or the 9040B. For some reason, this vehicle was put in the game at 8.3. I have no idea who did this. I literally think this vehicle was put into the game at 8.3 because they wanted to test something. Because there is no reasonable human being out there which thought that this vehicle should be an 8.3 vehicle. It is now going up to 9.0, showing the difference in the ability of the vehicle. This vehicle is basically the bill, but it just doesn't have the bills. That's it. And the bill's ridiculously high compared to it. Who thought this was okay at 8.3? Who? Please, let me talk to them. I would like them to take a psychiatric test. It's as simple as that. As I said, they must have been testing something, because that's the only thing I can think of why this thing was at 8.3. And, you know, we talked about many times, why is this thing here? During the dev server and during other things. It just made no sense. And it turns out with the BR changes, it makes no sense. The Char 25T is also going up in BR, so another light tank for France, which is going up, is going from 7.0 to 7.3. The march of that vehicle is up and up and up, but it is also a very good vehicle. So it isn't a surprise. It has all of the nice factors you want. Going up in BR as well won't actually do anything for it. It won't make it worse to play. It'll basically just be the same. You'll just encounter a few more stabilizers, so you've got to be a little bit more careful. The EBR 1954 is going from 6.0 to 6.3. Once again, really good chassis. The 90mm... I think that's the 90mm version. I should actually check that real quick. But whichever variant it is, the EBRs just do really well because of their platform. Even though I keep hearing people complaining about how bad the guns aren't bad. They work incredibly well. Yeah, this is the 75mm version. So yeah, once again, it's going up in BR. That thing and the Lorraine are contenders for machines that have moved the most in a upward direction when it comes to BRs, because I still think there's more vehicles which have lost more BR than these have gained, like the P108, for example, and machines like that, and also the Key 108, I think it is, which has changed dramatically. The Chino 2 has gone from 4.0 to 4.3. No surprise here. It's a fantastic vehicle and very similar to the Cheetos at 4.7. So to see it go up is fine. I mean, I run it with the 4.7s anyway, so it doesn't actually make any difference to me. And it didn't have a lineup at 4.0 anyway, and it doesn't really have a lineup at 4.3 either. So, you know, it just means that the solo carry is going to be slightly harder to do. The Hori prototype and the Hori production are both going up. So the prototype is going from 6.3 to 6.7, and the production is going from 7.0 to 7.3. I am surprised this hasn't happened earlier. And you know why? Because the Hori production has like a 20,000 or 22,000 repair cost, which normally indicates the vehicle itself is doing extremely well when it comes to the game. And the production is a very good vehicle. It works really well, has a great gun, good armor, and decent mobility. It just can't go backwards anymore. And overall, I've had a really good time playing it every time I've taken it out. So to see it go up, not a surprise, still fits in some lineups, so it's completely fine. But it's just the fact that its repair cost has been so high for so long. Normally that indicates that the vehicle should go up in BR, and then the repair cost will drop when its stats get worse. So they've decided to take the plunge now, and I think, you know, that's a fine decision. The prototype is probably less deserving of going up in BR, but the production is definitely deserving in going up in BR. The Rattle 90 is going from 6.3 to 6.0, so it's decreasing in BR. No surprise there. It's not a good vehicle. no survivability. All the crew is literally in the same place. They can get 50 cal to death, gets killed by anything from a plane, gets killed by artillery, it's one of the least survivable vehicles in the game, and it's also slow. The only thing it has is the 90mm, and guess what? There's a bunch of other vehicles at this BR which have the 90mm. The rattle, the change in BR doesn't actually do anything for it though, because it doesn't address any of its problems. What it needs is a better reload rate, or what it needs is a more stable gun. Those are the two things that will help it out. Or it needs somebody to install a better engine, but that's not going to happen. So you just need to improve the gun characteristics a little bit, and it would be a much better machine. But at the moment, none of those have happened, and instead it's just going down in BR, which won't fix it. It'll still perform as badly as it did before. The rattles in-game do not feel nice to play, but it's because of the factors that they were designed for, but don't really fit in the game. It's as simple as that. For Naval, there is a few changes to the starter Blue Water fleet. So not too many, only 5 of them. Starting with the Z43. The Z43 is actually going up, it's going down in BR from 5.0 to 4.7. And not too much of a surprise here. I was kind of surprised when it went up in the first place. I don't think it's any better than some of the other machines for Germany, which are actually lower in BR, such as the premium vehicle with the 150s on it. Obviously, this machine has access to the 127mm, which are very fast firing and put out decent damage, but they're nowhere near the level of some of the American destroyers that are in the same area. It also struggles in certain ammunition choices, so against cruisers, it's never going to have a good time. So to see it go down in BR, not too much of a surprise. The U-Bari is also going down in BR. This machine with obviously its 140mm, but doesn't have a lot of them. It's just one of those machines which is kind of in the middle of machines. It's also a premium, so maybe it's not doing as well as other vehicles. It's at rank 3, which is quite nice, I suppose, but generally vehicles like this struggle because of the fact they don't have a huge main armament. Like the secondary armament on it as well isn't that impressive either. It's just a big ship with not too many teeth. At least it has some torpedoes on it, which are quite nice for it. So at least it has that. So it doesn't always have to just depend on its 4 140mm guns in its 2 turrets. But I still think that it was a surprise that this machine went up to 5.0. This is kind of like a restructuring after the BR decompression that happened when it came to Naval. The RN Leon is also going from the 4.7 bracket to the 4.3 one. No surprise here. It's really not a good vehicle. The Leon was recently added in Update Direct Hit, so it's probably got enough of the stats behind it now to put it down in BR. It's another machine which lacks good armaments with only 4 120mm, doesn't really have a great secondary either, and is just a huge target to beat up. It's one of these weird cruisers which is kind of like in the middle. It's like a heavy destroyer in a way, and Italy kind of has a decent amount of these things, but the problem is with them is they actually end up just not being very good against cruisers, and they're okay against destroyers, but the problem with the Leon is that now it doesn't have the firepower to be able to deal with a lot of destroyers, so it's just going to get eaten by them, and that's obviously what's been happening. The Tigre, or the TRGRE, the Tiger, RN has probably had the same issue as before, and obviously this is the Leon class as well. It's the premium variant of it, so watching the other Leon go down as well, it just follows it, so no real surprise there. Once again, just restructuring after the BR decompression that happened, and then the hook aim is going from 3.7 to 3.3. Now, the hook aim is obviously the, or at least it is the American ship that's around, and I can't actually find it. Which ship is it? This is the problem when they actually renamed everything. or the Hoquim, is it? Whatever it is. It's the frigate. It's the frigate that they added. The reason why I can't find it is because they've spelt it wrong. Because it doesn't actually exist as the Hoquim. It's the Hoquim, or however you say it, or Hoquiam. It's the frigate that was added in direct hit as well. So for the Americans. So that needs to be updated to actually fit where it actually is. And it doesn't surprise me it's going down, because it's just going to get beaten up by destroyers. So now this thing will be able to beat up some smaller machines and hopefully do okay. With the 3-inch guns, it can't actually overpressure anything, which is a bit of a problem, but it still will be able to do decent damage to certain boats and should have a much better time at the BR that it's at. It may even become part of the lineup I use for events, which is the PT boat lineup. We'll see. But those are the small changes for Naval, nothing too drastic and nothing that can be complained about too much. I think generally these are fine. The realistic changes also mirror the arcade changes as well. So that's all the changes for the BR stuff overall that are coming in November of 2021. We'll see if they update the list, and I'll keep you updated. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Barine, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.